How to administrate the affairs of the cities and servants of Allah.
An order to Malik al-Ashta. If the taxpayers complain to you of the heavy incidents to taxation, of any accidental calamity, of the vagaries of the monsoons, of the recession of the means of irrigation, of floods or destruction of their crops on account of excessive rainfall, and if their complaints are true, then reduce their taxes. This reduction should be such that it provides them opportunities to improve their conditions and eases them of their troubles. Decrease in state income due to such reasons should not depress you, because the best investment for a ruler is to help his subjects at the time of their difficulties. They are the real wealth of a country, and any investment on them, even in the form of reduction of taxes, will be returned to the state in the shape of the prosperity of its cities and improvement of the country at large. At the same time, you will be in a position to command and secure their love, respect, and praises along with the revenues. Will that not be a lasting happiness? Not only this, but your benign rule and humane treatment will so affect them that they will come to your help at the time of your difficulties, and you will be able to rely on their support. Your kindness, your clemency, and your justice will be a kind of moral training to them, and the contented, happy, and prosperous life, for which they will be grateful to you, will be the best support, strongest protection, and the greatest treasury for you. Later, if such circumstances arrive that you find yourself in need of their support, their help, their confidence, their wealth, and their manpower, then they will have no grudge against you. Remember, Malik, if a country is prosperous and if its people are well-to-do, then it will happily and willingly bear any burden. The poverty of the people is the actual cause of the devastation and ruination of a country, and the main cause of the poverty of the people is the desire of its ruler and officers to amass wealth and possessions, whether by fair or foul means. They are afraid of losing their posts or positions and sway or rule, and want to make the most during the shortest time at their disposal. They never learn any lesson from the history of nations and never pay any attention to the commands of Allah. You will also have to be very careful about your secretaries. You should entrust your work only to those who are the best among them. Especially the affairs which are of confidential nature and which deal with secrets, and the security of the state should be entrusted only to men of noble character, because men who are intoxicated with power, position, and prestige carry on propaganda and speak against the government in public. They openly misbehave with you and consider themselves so important as to ignore you or your orders in financial transactions essential to the state. They avoid placing necessary papers before you or attending to important correspondence. Particular care should be taken that when the officers make contracts on behalf of the government or sign agreements, these contracts and agreements are not defective or harmful to the state. If they are negotiating any treaties and alliances, they do not overlook or forsake the interests of the state, or if they find the state in a weak and embarrassing position on account of unfavorable terms of treaties or due to intrigues, they should be able to find sensible ways out of them. See that they know and realize their proper place and rank, because he who does not realize his place and position will never understand those of others. One more thing about these officers: you must remember not to select them for very important posts, and not to trust them completely simply because you have found them honest, diligent, trustworthy, and intelligent, and have formed a good opinion about them, because there are some people who, when it suits them, pretend honesty, diligence, and fidelity, and can put on the garb of piety and virtue, and thus find their ways in the hearts of the rulers, though actually they are neither honest nor diligent nor wise nor sagacious. Therefore, you must always look to the record or reputation of the services of such men during previous regimes. More importance should be attached to their good reputation. This kind of selection and supervision will prove that you are faithful to Allah and that you wish your Imam well. Thus you must appoint one officer as the head of each important branch of your government. He should have knowledge and wisdom enough to cope successfully with all the intricate problems of his department and should be diligent enough to cope with extensive work. Remember well that if there is any defect in your officers and you are tolerating it, then you, and only you, are responsible for all those evils. I want to advise you about your businessmen and industrialists. Treat them well, and order your officers to follow the same policy. There may be local businessmen carrying on their trade in certain places or those who send their merchandise from one place to another. There may even be those who import and export goods. Similarly, there may be industrialists and manufacturers as well as industrial labor or men engaged in the handicrafts. They all deserve sympathy, protection, and good treatment. They all are the sources of wealth to the country. They provide goods for the consumers. Most of these traders carry and convey these goods from across deserts, seas, and over open lands and mountains. Their consignments are brought from distant lands, often from places which are not easy to approach and where usually people do not care or do not dare to go. These businessmen are usually peace-loving people, not given to mischievous disturbances and seditious fomentation. You must look after their interest and protect them whether they are trading in your cities or towns or whether they are traveling over the countries carrying goods from place to place. One more thing about these traders and industrialists. While treating them most sympathetically, you must keep an eye over their activities as well. You know they are usually stingy misers, intensely self-centered and selfish, suffering from the obsession of grasping and accumulating wealth. They often hoard their goods to get more profit out of them by creating scarcity and by indulging in black marketing. Such a condition is extremely injurious to the public on one hand and disgraceful to the ruler on the other. You must put a stop to all such practices because the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, has explicitly prohibited such practices. Remember that trade should go on between the buyers and sellers according to correct measures and weights and on such reasonable terms that neither the consumers nor the suppliers should have to face losses. But even with all the sympathetic treatments accorded to them and with all the facilities provided to them, if the traders and industrialists carry on hoarding and black marketing, then you must punish them according to the intensity of their crime. Then I want to caution you about the poor. Fear Allah about their conditions and your attitude towards them. They have no support, no resources, and no opportunities. They are poor, they are destitute, and many of them are cripples and unfit for work. Some of them come out begging and some who maintain self-respect do not beg, but their conditions speak of their distress, poverty, destitution, and wants. For the sake of Allah, Malik, protect them and their rights. He has laid the responsibility of this upon your shoulders. You must fix a share for them from Bayt al-Mal, that is to say the government treasury. Besides this reservation in cash, you must also reserve a share in kind of crops etc. from government granaries in cities where food grains are stored as are cultivated on state-owned land, because in these storage the share of those living far away from any particular city is equal to the share of those living nearby. Let me remind you once again that you are made responsible for guarding the rights of the poor people and for looking after their welfare. Take care that the conceit of your position and vanity of wealth may not deceive you to lose sight of such a grave and important responsibility. Yours is such an important post that you cannot claim immunity from the responsibility of even minor errors of commission or omission with an excuse that you were engrossed in the major problems of the state which you have solved diligently.